Here we are, next in line of the Oscar campaign of this year, even though the Oscars have just passed, nominated for only 2 of them, but significant ones, indeed, being Best Original Screenplay and Best Picture of the Year, Past Lives, released by A24, which is nice to see some considered accolades for A24, starring Greta Lee as Na Young, born and raised in South Korea, who becomes Nora once her family immigrates to Canada, and then she moves to New York to become a successful playwright. I appreciate the Arthur Miller and some Shakespeare you got going on over there, Nora. As she dives into social media, the Facebook, as it were, she remembers her childhood friend, Hae-sung, whom she had a crush on, finds him and friend requests him during a time of such change in his life back in Korea. But opportunity and chance come together as they reconnect online and catch up quite a bit. However, not for long, since the time change and events in their personal lives deter any more of a connection. Personal events such as Nora wanting to focus more on her writing career, so she suggests they should stop talking. But then at a writer's seminar in Montauk, she meets Arthur, another aspiring writer played well by Jean MAGARO. And wouldn't you know, they fall in love and get married. At the same time, Hae-sung moves to China for a Mandarin language exchange program, and with another woman he gets together with. But then 12 more years pass, Nora somewhat happily married, I guess, and Hae-sung single. He decides to go visit Nora in New York to see her in person. To break off her marriage? No, of course not. But maybe to see what might be rekindled. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll have to admit, I was not too excited to see this film because it honestly reminded me of so many international repressive love stories. You know, like Truffaut's Jules and Jim, In the Mood for Love, 500 Days of Summer, you know, a lot of those. And I felt like, okay, this just looks like the Korean version, so I really resented all the critical hype it was receiving. Not degrading or downgrading its filmmaking style or abilities as a film whatsoever. I just felt like, I mean, come on, really? Haven't we seen this before? What's so fab about it? But I will say, the hype really increased since half of it is set and shot in New York, and its writer-director celinesong lives right there. Of course it would receive even more local love. And I will say, the film is definitely quite enjoyable, and a wonderful film at that. Especially since the movie was inspired by an actual event that happened to celinesong, where an old Korean friend of hers came into town at the East Village, only speaking Korean. She was with her American husband, who only speaks English, and she felt like something magical was happening, where she was a portal for these 2 men from these different cultures. She thought, what an interesting story this would be, and as the script progressed, the layers were showing within it, which after my second viewing of it, I was really affected by it. I love its opening shot, starting from the end of the film, and it's the perspective from off-camera patrons examining this picture of Nora in the middle and both men on either side of her, narrating what their relationship dynamic is between these 3. It creates such realism and authentic commentary of how Americans are. The performances are simple, small, and indeed effective. Greta Lee and TOU are great together when they finally reunite. And you obviously see the chemistry that just erupts on screen when they don't even say a word to each other. I find myself gravitated more to John MAGARO's performance as well, because it's so quiet, so simple, and as you would expect, a very empathetic performance, where the guy has to show respect for the fact that a childhood crush of his wife's came to town to see her. And the biggest scene in the whole film, where they're at the bar, bringing them back to the very beginning of the film, Nora in the middle, Hae-sung on her right, her husband Arthur on her left, is very tense. Nora and Hae-sung talk in Korean, and he's sharing his regret, his thoughts on where their lives could have been if they stayed together, if they dated, if they broke up, if they got married, and almost feeling like he's being robbed of that because she is a person who leaves. All this happening while Arthur is just sitting at the bar alone while they have this moment. Me, as Alex, would be totally pissed. But I remember that maturity it takes to let your significant other experience this, because if he didn't, perhaps that shows more insecurity. And for Arthur to welcome this shows how much he trusts his wife and really loves her. It shows his security in who he is as a man as well, and his trust for her independency and commitment. I'm glad at least Hae-sung is still, at the same time, very much a mature adult as well. He apologizes to Arthur for just having their moment just in Korean. But then we get to that last moment where Hae-sung and Nora are waiting for his Uber, silently. The tension is so palpable. He's got his luggage, and I like how CELINE keeps the camera from afar in this one. So we really feel that tension to then Hae-sung sharing, what if this is our past lives? Oh, he said it. He said the thing. And the moment where she walks back to the apartment slowly, crying in Arthur's arms. Is she regretful of the life she could have had with Hae-sung? Does she feel terrible for Arthur to have gone through that? Is she sad about her life now? There are so many layers within these moments. It's lovely and deeply effective and true. Greta certainly gives a wonderful performance and something that really is carrying on her shoulders, but is also shared with TOU, and they handle it wonderfully together. All in all, folks, I give Past Lives an A-. For a first-time writer-director, it is a wonderful start and a career to come, which I'm glad she has another picture in pre-production. But with Dakota Johnson... ugh. But Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans, everybody loves those two. But tell me, my friends, have you seen Past Lives? Do you love this film? What do you think of it? Be sure to listen in the comments, share with your friends, and stay tuned for that last Best Picture nominee. Do y'all remember what it is? Find out soon. Love you all.